Koku whangi ila mutu pe mi halalo,
Haka mei uncle.
Tau I kare taka kwenye kolo.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Tonga to open too, so I can go Fagi Ewagi Tonga. Ta pudi mo fish.
Hey, couple more months, I think.
Couple more months.
Get your shot, then go.
But Tonga okay enough for Noa, eh? 0 cases.
I think so. I haven't heard anything about anybody getting sick there.
Yeah, Tonga is still 0. They locked down. They went on lockdown ever since the news came out. When it all started in China, they locked everything. Went on a lockdown straight away.
I
think we're live. We're on. Okay, guys, we're on. We're live.
We on and cracking?
Yeah, we're on. I think we're
You started in China, locked everything.
Live on Facebook.
Straight away.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's start then. Welcome, everybody. Hello, our Tongan Pro athletes of today and yesterday. Welcome to our weekly conversation with our Tongan Pro athletes. But before we get started, let me give you our schedule for the next 2 weeks. On the 4th, next Thursday, will be Haloti Ngata. And then the following week, on the 11th, will be Braden Fehoko. So we'll just, in 2 weeks in advance, we'll just let everybody know who we're coming up on our conversation on every week. So, but okay. Our guest tonight is Chris Malanga. He's an American football player as a defensive tackle. He played for Kansas City University and was drafted in the 4th round in the 1994 NFL draft to the New York Giants. Chris also played with the Arizona Cardinals, the Kansas City Chiefs, the St. Louis Rams, Chicago Bears, and also the Cleveland Browns, where I got to know Chris in Cleveland. Chris also played in the arena football when he was done with the NFL. And after his career, he founded the Tongan American Youth Foundation and also found time to coach high school. So, Chris, thank you for coming on, man. We appreciate you coming on to we're honored to have you tonight, man. It's just to have a conversation with you, just to find out where you're at with your life today. Just to give us a little bit of rundown of your professional career with the NFL, what got you started, and this page is just, it's about getting to, bringing most of our athletes to life again, and just like the title is, Tongan Pro athletes of today's and yesterday. So just wanting to come, if you can introduce yourself, let us know where you're at now, your family, your parents, your grandparents, the village you came from, just to let our audience know where you're from Tonga. So thank you, Chris, for coming on, and please come on and introduce yourself and let our audience know who you are. Welcome, my man.
Hey, Tim, I appreciate it, man. That was about 18 different questions, so I'll try to I'll try to knock out the first part of it at least.
Yeah, just knock out the first part. Where you from? What village? Your parents, and then we'll go from there.
Got you. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, man, and definitely appreciate the time to spend on this evening with you guys. And like Tim said, my name is Christian Netane Malanga, and born in Redwood City, California. And as a kid, we moved to Los Angeles, and so although I'm originally from the Bay, as far as my birthplace, I was raised in Los Angeles. I'm married and live in LA, and I have 4 kids, 2 daughters and 2 sons, and I'm a proud father and a husband, and my whole family lives here. My siblings, all my siblings live here. I have 4 siblings. They all live in California, 2 sisters and a brother. And my mom is still alive. My mom is from Oahu. She is, her maiden name is Tuihalamaka. She's from a couple different places in Oahu, but primarily from a little island called Ovaka and also Taunga.
Yung na-photo nga,
So
Chris,
her-
yeah?
What's that?
Oh no, somebody's on. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, so sound like you got one of my aunties on here? Because it sounds like one of my
I think
aunties
so.
over there. But yeah, so my mom is from the Tuihalamaka and the Faletau clan in Vava'u, from Ovaka and Taunga, as well as Niua. They're proud of their Niua side. My dad is from the Tagamotonga in Mua, and he's also his mom is from Namuka in Hawaii, and so I'm proud to say that I'm from just about every corner of Tonga.
Yeah.
And
No,
but my
it's good.
favorite island in Tonga is Ewa. Of course, my brother Tiwaki,
You're lucky. Yeah.
he and I
There you go.
talk about Ewa a lot. I got a chance when I lived in Tonga for a few years after I got done playing. I got a chance to go visit Ewa quite a
Wow.
bit, actually. Had some fun over there. But yeah, I'm
Nice.
just back in California. Just thankful to be healthy and thankful for another day and just taking care of the family and trying to stay busy and stay away from this corona.
Nice. Okay, thank you, man. Appreciate that. So let's take us back to when, as a kid, when you started playing football. When did you start playing football? And did you know that you could move on? And when did you know that you could actually further your education, get a scholarship to go on to college?
Yeah, man, that's a good question. My family, obviously, like a lot of first generation Tongan Americans,
Yeah.
most of our family didn't play football. Most of my family played
Right.
rugby.
Yeah.
My mom's brothers and her cousins played rugby. She had a cousin, Potele Tuihalamaka. He played a little bit of rugby
Yeah.
in Tonga, and also Kuri Faletau. So my first introduction to sports really was rugby, but rugby's not big in the States. And
Yep.
and I played a little bit. I had a cousin, Hekoti Whakawā, who's rest in peace. He introduced me to rugby in Kapilani Park. And
Yeah.
he took me over there to Kapilani Park, and the next thing I know, we had somebody throws us a couple jerseys and says, "Hey, we're short 2 guys." And we jumped in, and it was against an all Tongan team, by the way. And I was 15, I think. Yeah, I was 15, 16.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as the scrum broke, one of the Tongan dudes punched me in the back of my head. And then I said to myself, "Man, I think I like the helmet better."
Oh. So from there, so that's how you got introduced to playing. So you started playing rugby, and then when did you start playing football, American football?
So I had some uncles in Arizona, Tuihalamaka, Feleti Tuihalamaka, and Niwafe Tuihalamaka, as well as Nehumi Tuihalamaka, three brothers. They were playing high school ball in, never forget, Alhambra High School in Arizona. And that was my inspiration, as I saw them playing, and they were being mentored by Vai Sikahema, as a matter of fact, because Vai was living in Arizona at the time.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so Vai's from Halafuli, so there's a connection there with the Tuihalamakas. My great-grandfather married someone from Halafuli, so we have a close connection with the folks in Halafuli. So about my sophomore year in high school, I got introduced to football, and I'll tell you what, it was a transforming experience, life-changing experience. One of the reasons why I love football is that it just really changed my life, because prior to playing football, I had made a bunch of decisions that put me in a juvenile detention center. I was in a juvenile detention center my entire 8th grade year. And then prior to that, I was involved in gangs and actually was shot in the leg. So I still got a nice reminder. I got a bullet in my leg still from those days. This is even before I played football.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
It's easy to get caught up in those type of lifestyles when, mom and dad are working 2 jobs and trying to help not just our family, but you know how it is. We got to help our family back in Tonga, siblings and parents and grandparents, and it was definitely challenging. And then football was kind of the distraction that allowed me to look a different direction, and something that used up my time so that I can look at some other opportunities.
Sure. Man, your story is, like you said, you went almost in the wrong direction then at the beginning, and then, like you said, football actually saved you, and it gave you that chance to be on a team and play as a team on a team with some of the players, and from there you got a scholarship to go and play at a university. I mean, how big is that, though? I mean, that had, like you said, that's had to be a life-changing for you, from going from, most kids like here play at a younger age football, but you didn't start till like 10th grade, like you just said here. And
yeah,
that just
definitely. It was.
You're pretty good as an athlete, just to start at 10th grade and got a scholarship to go to Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, football became that distraction, and my parents were just happy that I was not spending my time running around with my friends and on the streets. And it's so difficult as first generation Tongan Americans in this country. At home we were raised Tongan. We weren't even allowed to speak English at home. I mean, my parents didn't speak to me in English. We spoke in Tongan, and
right.
We were raised in the Methodist church, so we had to learn how to read the Tongan Bible. We had to learn how to read the Tongan hymn. We had whakame, every May we had the whakame, where you don't get beat to death if you don't memorize your verse.
Yeah.
With love and care, of course.
With love.
But yeah, at the time, I didn't realize how important the language to speak Tongan. But now I was just sharing with Coach about how I get surprised when I run into some Tongans that we grew up in the same areas, but for some reason they weren't able to hold on to the language, or just have difficulty with the language. So
yeah. I think that's, I guess it just depends on the parents, I guess, because we're all first generation coming out to America. I mean, we all still know how to speak Tongan as our first generation, but I think some of the kids now, the second, third generation, is kind of losing the language. I guess it's just up to the parents of what they want their kids to do, how they, teach the Tongan language, which is probably the best thing to do, is to have them talk it. But I'll ask the panel, Chris is available. What, you guys have any questions for Chris?
Tim, I before I ask my question, I've been trying to share and to find the program on Facebook, because there's many that would like to hear. So I think if someone can share it to us, Carlo, so that we can just continue talking and share to others to join us. But Tim, as we heard Chris share, to grow up in LA, guys, I don't think if you aware with the USA and LA and, Inglewood and, that whole area, to make it, it's a tough place. It's a city that is huge,
Yeah.
And as a Tongan, trying to build in the years, it's not an easy thing. I shared last week, Chris, when we started in the 70s, I played football in 71. Tongans, koi kau tonga ia, mau kamakamata, there's three things. Makehe mehe lotu was mahino ia. Koe tautolo koe ka whanau, koe ogi ako foki mai, aluko iate. Me and Twitter, a whole bunch of guys, Team Growth, koe sipotia, that was like, all of those things, maha fika tahani mai a sipotia, lauia ko time. Yeah. Ko heka lo iate. Ko tuku pe ako kapok mo fi mai fe tu fa nga we ka tolopu ki ai. Ko for furihi ko ke tolopu ki. That's why a lot of the Tongans that we grew up missed the Papuana mo funky little leaky. Until later. So maybe that's why Chris got on late, but it just shows, like you mentioned, Tim, he was so talented, and he's a lot bigger than his age group, that in 2-3 years, he was able to earn a full ride scholarship with many choices, to make that. And I think we'll spend a lot of time talking about how great he was in college, in high school, college, and in the NFL. Like most of you, Tim and Chris, I follow you guys' career and the people that you guys mingle with, and the people that played with Chris. He had an opportunity to play for many teams. There's going to be a lot of time talking. But I think, Tim, what I'm interested in, you mentioned when you talked to Chris about a turning point. I think majority of most of us, there are many, many turns that we made along the way. We're just so grateful that we have arrived with where we are today. Because every day there could be a turn that we'll never find our way back. So, but in doing so, to find the right track, even though it was rough or bumpy along the way, there are some individual that I think each of us have in mind that really helped us to pave the way. Either it's mom, dad, uncle, grandpa, and there's the incentive of being Tongan, knowing the priorities and knowing the first generation and why we left our beautiful island to be here, And it's nice to see Bill here with us. Bill is always, good at this. But basically, somewhere here, Tim, I just wish that Chris can go back and talk about his rough days and who was really, responsible to paving the way. Ko tu bena ia ki pa i te ringa a kahi atu taimi ni, ke whakatonu tonu ho tau hara mai ni kolo. E ka ia ko fuoloa e awhi he mai a whiu whakasi o atu ia whetu. So I think it's important for us to remember the few people, of course, it takes a village to raise a child. We all were brought up with that, with the whole family. But there's always a few individuals that stand out that kind of really force you in a way to try to stay on the straight path so we can be where we are today. So, but I'll leave it for you, Tim, to insert those questions when you feel it's appropriate for Chris. Thank you.
No, but yeah, Chris, like you said, you growing up, you had some rough time with, being in the gangs, and and a lot of our kids sometimes think that that's the team they want to be on, is being on the gang. And then what was, like Siwaki said, what was the turning point of you finding football, sports as a tool to turn your life around? Because you have said that you got in trouble while you as a youngster.
Yeah, I tell you what, Tim and Coach Levi, for me, I've learned this little cliche. In sports we use a lot of cliches, and this one in particular is the one that I learned the most. And that cliche goes like this: pain is a gift that nobody wants. And for me, I was that hard-headed type. I was that, Tongans will say, like a macaca. That was me. That was, I was the guy that my dad would have to, ayaw ki tuki ita pa ikete, and then my ears would be wide open then, right? And so, but I tell you what, once I got shot, once my brother got shot a week after me. He got shot 4 times. And then I witnessed a kid on Mormon night. They used to have Mormon night here in LA, or we'd go to Disneyland. And so many of my family is LDS, and they would always invite us to some of their functions. And I witnessed a Tongan kid from Batu, last name Tai, Salesi Tai. I witnessed him get killed in the parking lot of Disneyland. With my own eyes. That was the first time I'd seen somebody die from a gunshot. And all those experiences were painful. But as far as a turning point, for me, what I learned from my parents and my upbringing is they never gave up on me. Yeah. I would go into juvenile hall, come back out, go back into the Hawthorne PD or Inglewood PD, get in trouble, and they never gave up. Yeah. And I tell you what, finally, after all those times of being disciplined and being, they just never got tired of it. Yeah. And the other thing I remember about my parents is that they never lied on me or lied for me. When I got in trouble for stealing something, or when I got in trouble for, doing something, my mom was ruthless. She's like, "You said I'm gonna I'll get help," whatever the situation.
Yeah.
She would, I guess that was her way of reaching out to a relative to say, "Hey man, I need help with this kid. This kid right here is too much." So, and you know how it is at Tongan households. Many times in the beginning when families come from Tonga, they would often live with us. Right. And I'd have an uncle or a cousin, always there's somebody living at the house before they get their start, before they get a job, and then they get a wife or they move out. And so you didn't just get beat up by mom and dad, you got beat up by your cousin and by your uncle. It was like you got disciplined by committee.
Yeah, yeah,
So, it was, so for me, I was lucky that, nowadays the kids they make fun of my brothers that just get here from Tonga and call them fobs, fresh off the boat.
yeah,
But I'm so thankful that I was raised in a fob household.
Yeah.
Because they didn't understand the American way or the American life that we were going through away from home, but they never wavered from their principles of faith, of family, of doing the right thing. And they never wavered. Even though they didn't have the education or the experience in living in this foreign land. They were rookies themselves.
right.
They were rookies in a foreign land.
Foreign land. Yeah,
And we joke with my mom all the time. She's been here over 50 years, and her first language, like, she'll go to the store, she'll go anywhere. Her number one language is Tongan.
Yeah.
She will negotiate in Tongan. She will talk to the Chinese people in Tongan. So I'm so thankful I had parents who and family members who were proud to be Tongan, and they didn't have to become an American to be able to teach me lessons about life, because they had gone through adversity just to get here. Getting a visa and it was so there wasn't any one person or one event. It was a collective of, like Coach Levi said, it was a village. And I'm so thankful that both my mom's side and my dad's side, they didn't give up on me. Yeah. And especially my parents, my grandparents, neither one of my grandfathers spoke English. So we would get a two-piece left hook for trying to speak English around them,
I think that's the whole part of it, though. That's the whole thing about it. It's no matter how bad you are outside the house, when you come to the house, there's the respect is there. When you leave the house, whatever you did outside the house, when you come home, when your dad said stuff to you, you listen. You know what I mean? That's the norm.
I used to laugh. I've been in some tough situations with guns and with police and all these different crazy situations, but there was nobody I was more afraid of than my father.
Coming home.
My coach in high school, he figured it out, because I was the type that I would look at the coach and I was like, man, I would body slam your butt. Like, I didn't say it, right? But in my mind, I wasn't afraid of him. I wasn't afraid I wasn't afraid of anybody.
Right.
But when he started saying, hey, I'm gonna call your dad, man, I straightened up real quick.
There's something that we all have in common, it's just the word, back in the days, guys, you don't negotiate or make deal with that. You don't have any leverage.
There was no democratic process. It was a dictatorship.
I think we all needed that. I told some guys, when I take you to eat and I tell you to order what you want to eat, when you take forever trying to decide, should I order teriyaki or chicken? I said, you guys, it's harder in life when you're given choice. We all eating this, let's get 5 plates of show you chicken, and that was that then. I hate to say it, nowadays, the kids they bargain, like but anyway, maybe it's different, but we needed that. Yeah. I think none of us complain about how it was handled.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Chris. This is Bill, man, welcome to the program, bro. Sorry.
Hey, Bill.
Took me a while to get on here, but, Tim, if you don't mind, we'd like to welcome Vika Tuanaki. I guess she's in here with us.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to turn on your camera, Vika, and ask Chris a question if you have. So, anyways, Chris, I did some research on you. and I watched a video of LT out of all people. He shared a story of you on your rookie year, where you challenged him. Just hearing that story, gave me goosebumps. The way you as a rookie, standing up to, LT, that was the time of the prime of his career. And he was known as this mean, linebacker from the Giants. But anyways, he shared the story of you challenging him. But to me, the fact that you stood up to him, because he showed a lot of respect by saying that he had the utmost respect for you before and even afterwards of that incident. Can you share with us some of the things that was going through your mind to even get up and challenge the superstar of the team, per se?
Oh man, there's so many different situations that I can refer to. But as a rookie, when I was growing up, man, I wasn't familiar with the NFL. My introduction to the NFL was Vaisi Kahema, Lake Muli, and Tim Manoa. Those are the guys that I saw, and then, so the NFL really wasn't a thing, so when I got to the league, I wasn't starstruck by guys because, they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. Right.
Right.
And the respect, of course, there's always that respect. But for me, when I got to that level, I wasn't supposed to be there. At least if you follow me from early on in my life.
Yeah.
So I was very insecure as a rookie. And I felt like I had to challenge, whether it was right or wrong, I just had that type of mentality that, I had to let people know that, hey, I'm not Hawaiian, I'm not Samoan, I'm not Maori, I'm Tongan. And that's not to say that our brothers from other different islands, Fijians or whatnot is different. But when I was growing up, no one knew what a Tongan was.
Right.
I would just like say, where you from? I'm Hawaiian, just to cut it short.
Yeah.
Or I say I'm Samoan, because Samoans were very established in the U.S. By the time I was growing up. The Samoans were dominant in American football. We had guys like Manu Tuiasosopo. I'm talking about from L.A. Especially. We had Michael Alo, and for me growing up, we had the first superstar Polynesian was Junior Seau.
Right.
It was so going every level I went up, I felt like I had to really show that yes, we're cousins to the Samoans, and we're cousins to the Fijians and Maoris and other island nation Hawaiians. But I felt like I had to let them know that in this little small island out there called Tonga, we got a little bit of heart. We got a little bit of heart ourselves.
Yeah.
I think you showed that to him, and LT, like I said, he showed the utmost respect for you, and he said, how things turned out. And you guys played, a lot of good teams, a lot of good games. Tell us one of the games. I'm hoping it's a Cowboys game, but tell us a game that stands out in your life where you feel that you have made your mark in the NFL.
Oh man, that's an easy one. My rookie year, Monday Night Football, we're playing against the Dallas Cowboys.
I knew it.
And my dad had 4 brothers that live in Euless, Texas.
Right.
Hausia, he's still alive. Siona, he's passed away. Alatini's passed away, and Ikuna have passed away. So I only have one uncle left, but at the time I had 4 uncles. So I had all my little cousins over there. And as a rookie, unless you're a high first, second round pick, or unless you've broken the starting lineup, you're not really sure how much you're going to play. I was just happy to be on the team, and I was like, man, I made the team. Monday Night Football. And I don't think I went in, but a couple plays in the first half. And then in the second half, they put me in. And at the time, you know, anybody who's followed the Cowboys back in those days, the Cowboys were on top of the world. They were the best team. They had the best O-line.
Hey, Chris, you're looking at two diehard Cowboys here, Bill and I. So, you know, we know.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I was in the same draft class as Larry Allen, you know, and Larry Allen's a Hall of Famer. So we were in the same combine group. And, you know, they had Mark Tuinei, then you had Mark Stepnoski.
Yeah.
You know, you had Eric Williams.
Oh, man.
They had a phenomenal team. And, of course, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. And on my first play, I'll never forget, I was in a 3-tech and Stepnoski, and I could just see the guard was a little bit light-handed. So I knew there might be a choke block by Stepnoski, and I just hit the gap and I caused Emmitt Smith to fumble the ball, tackle for a loss, fumble the ball, and we got the ball back. And so that was basically my highlight for my most memorable time as a rookie. And it was a great time. You know, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
Chris, sorry, Bill, who had nangalo for you? Nadanoga Bill, Bill talk about how you challenge LT. You know, those are great moments. But Chris, you know, that story with Strahan, you know, but te gi ai whakatonga pehe ko ki whakamana pehe ka mea ko e whaetere a mea Chrisia pe fie ai ki whanonga mamani ka koe tau ki ka kai tonga. Maka masia ko niu ilo e te la mea Chris ki ai o kulo tonga e miti a ia nai programa ke. Koe foi hia foki moi. Tala mai he kaunga wainga ko Chris. Coach, you know your man Chris here. Na ne turi tambate I holo ia Strahan na tere kumi mo I holo masia go ya na ma Chris na tambate ia o tamatonga ko ni, you know. O ko ma be no e balangi na be ka kai ku tau ka pore pra tau nga COVID pe ka ko e tau whakata whaka pe mo me la ve Chris na e kai be I viega ta vangi ko mea ka ko au ko ka tama ko ma firi atu ko ni ko ka topu ko ka Hall of Fame ya ko ka topu ni ko I dispodi na mate he rifia masi ko na e ba ko te ke si vai Chris ka pa fi la ve Chris ki ai ko mari ta ha o ngai foi off the field fanga foi mea go I forget ga mudo.
No, that incident on the field. So
yeah, Strahan was an interesting situation. Because Strahan folk in the draft, a class before me. And the draft for Strahan, he was tolu the draft, he was far. And you know, we're not going to get hazing. Anybody who's familiar with hazing, who had got tama for o ko alo kumi to nati ke breakfast mo sandwich ke lunch
manato vai Nicolo ki tolo a mo ka tama ko ya ka fo ia mo
ai ko matolo no fight pu I holo go ke ka veterans
the veterans
so you know everything is okay, but my second year in New York along Strahan. Remember, Strahan is only 1 year ahead of us.
Right.
I go 1 year ahead. If I go put him, I go get from Matalidi Mautolu and all that kind of stuff. And you know, he came into and not only that, the way they did the training back in those days. I don't know how it is now, but if you were the younger guys, you had to go in at 6 a.m. and train. The veterans didn't have to go train until 10 a.m. So we go in at 6 and then we stay in the players' lounge and who and go veterans or mate go rookie ma klase mador hirifia fu tama go Jumbo Elliott. Fu utama pa lang ni ma 6'7", 6'8". Hayo for hirifia ma go tama. And I was just like, man, I don't know who these guys think they are, but when they would change the radio station on us, you know. Todo Fuli said no Lord. And finally, Strahan comes in and he said, "Hey, who changed the channel?" And you know, everybody looked around like they were supposed to be afraid. And I said, "Oh, that would be me." And then he says, "Oh, you think you're tough? You think you're tough, don't you?" And I said, "No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I can handle my own, you know." But the man ahorita, he said, "Oh, you guys are just a bunch of fat Hawaiians or something." He said something like that.
Yeah. They triggered
Man.
it.
As soon as he said that, I didn't even say nothing else. I swung. I swung and I missed. Go miss it for Duki. I was for some reason he just triggered me in that moment, and I swung and I missed. And I think he might have got me in my ear a little bit when I was because I fell forward and rolled. But I'll never forget when I got up, I told him, I said, "Today is the last day you're gonna breathe air on earth." And then he ran. And then he ran outside the locker room. I chased him all over Giant Stadium. And I couldn't catch him. You know, Strahan's about 6'4". At the time, he was probably about 250. Very athletic, heck of a player. I mean, obviously, he's the Hall of Famer.
Right.
But I couldn't catch him. I was about 300 at the time, maybe 305. And I just couldn't catch the guy, you know? And finally, he was like, Strahan said, "Man, I was just joking, man. I'm sorry." And by then, I was already tired.
Yeah.
I was tired too. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry too, bro." And then we shook hands. The interesting thing is that years later, maybe 15 years after I got done playing, is when Strahan got inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and he told a different version. He said that he knocked me out twice and something, and I just laughed. I was like, "Man, 15, 16 years later, you still remember me."
Yeah. Well, that means he.
But of course, he's not gonna tell the whole story. He's only gonna tell
Right.
the part that he thinks is gonna make him look good on his Pro Football Hall of Fame, whatever. And you know, I was surprised the way him and Jay Glazer told the story with their own version. And I'll never forget the Denver Broncos and the Seahawks were playing the Super Bowl in New York, and Alani Fua's son, Sione Fua, who finished from Stanford, he got drafted by the Carolina Panthers, and then he was on the Broncos.
Right.
So Alani and I went to New York, and I told Alani, I said, "Hey, I go see you get my you know, I was just joking, but I was half joking. I was like, man, let me go ahead and see if I can correct this story for him and make him remember his past a little bit more clearly."
Well, you know, whatever happens, Chris, I know that the guy respects you. You know, to have a Hall of Famer, you know, share a story, especially with a Tongan brother like yourself. You know, it means a lot. You know, even though, like you said, his version, you know, I knew it wasn't true when I was watching it, and I'm glad you shared your side of the story. You know, but you know, we have a panel here. We have Juan Nicolo, and also President Tuita Tuiaso. If you guys have something, you know, come on out, guys. Ask something to Chris before we go on.
Just for me, Chris, you guys involved with the rookies nowadays, the polys, just to give them a heads up about what they need to focus on as a rookie going into the NFL, to the big lights. Do you guys have got anything to do with it, or just reach out to those young kids? Just like I said before, to give them a heads up about, hey, you need to, this is what you need to do when you walk into the whatever team you're going into.
You know, we try. You know, the challenge with the NFL now is like Tim can attest. You know, the money and the dollars nowadays are way much more than when we were. I remember when I was in New York, with the Giants, there was only one person on the team making 7 figures, making $1 million.
Wow.
And it was a left tackle. His name, you remember Doug Riesenberg, Tim?
Yep.
A left tackle?
Yeah.
We used to look at Doug Riesenberg like he was walking on water because that wasn't very common,
Yeah.
you know. But with respect to your question, Vancolo, it's challenging nowadays because we're talking about big money, you know, and when you're talking about big money, then you have your own agents,
Yeah.
you have your own managers. And I've tried a few times. I have a relative now in the NFL, Vita Vea. Vita Vea's grandfather and my grandmother are siblings. And so I reached out to him when he was still in college, you know. But, you know, the challenge is that nowadays, with the different agents and different managers, they're a little bit threatened by us.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when I talk to the youngsters, I give them the truth. You know, I don't have any skin in the game.
Right.
With I'm not their agent, but I'll give them the truth from my standpoint, at least. And that truth may not be beneficial to the agent or to their manager, you know.
Right.
And so sometimes they'll get covered up a little bit by some of the people who are in their lives. But we try. We try a lot, actually, more. And I used to work for an agency. I've worked for a couple of different sports agencies, recruiting and things like that. So we've worked with a couple Tongan boys. And to answer your question, we do when we can. But you know how it is with some of our folks, man. You try to reach out and sometimes they're like, oh, mas you gonna fear poto or fear palagi or whatever. You know.
Oh, a lot of times I
So-
think they're just overprotected, Chris. A lot of times they're just overprotected. Plus, you know, as us Polynesians, sometimes they look at us as maybe he's coming to him in a other direction, a different, you know, looking for something else beside giving him, you know, giving him advice and stuff like that. A lot of times they want to keep you away from their kid for for some reason.
Well, look, the colonial influence in our small island nation is real and it's strong.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I was in the Bank of Tonga years ago, and I was standing in line waiting for my turn to go to the bank, and some Palangi guy just walks right in, goes to the front of the line, and goes to the teller. And you know,
They didn't
he must
sit
have not,
with you.
you know, they didn't have the Wi-Fi back then or the internet, because he didn't check to see who was standing in line, you know. So I went over there and said, excuse me, sir, you need to get back in the line. We're over here waiting for the same service. And he goes, no, they know me. And, you know, in Tonga, a little bit different than the US.
Right.
You know, I have friends and relatives who are cops. So I just grabbed the dude, threw him in the back of the line, you know. But the lady, the funniest part is the lady who was at the bank was like, oh, Saipiego Palangi. And I was like, well, my money is the same as this Palangi guy. And I probably got more money than this guy, you know. But I was wearing a t-shirt and shorts and slippers. And so, you know, you see a lot of that same behavior here, where us Tongans will try to reach out, and even if we have experience or even if we have knowledge, sometimes the very people that we try to help are the same people who will push us away for a variety of reasons. But I do feel like there's a strong colonial influence on some of those behaviors. But the love is always going to be there, and you know, we're not in the convincing business. We're going to help those who seek help and that want to be helped, and that'll never end.
I just think it's important that you guys, it's important to reach out to those people, those who are listening. They have a sibling or kids coming up through college football. It's important that they listen, and you guys are, because some people, my experience, we had Chris, Will Tuwafu here, and he was talking about how he has to get in draft as it's the first thing that happened. It's not you're not making the NFL. You're not going straight to the team unless you're a top 5 first round pick. the work is when you get in. The work start when you get in there, and just saying that is because most people are now surrounding things. Oh, you got named, you got drafted to this team. Now you're good. You're good to go. But it's not all about that. It's not all that. You got
Yeah.
making it to the draft. You got work to do after
Right.
to make the team and
Exactly.
to stay in the team. So for those who are listening, man, they need to open up and open up to the oldies that been to the legend that been through it first to learn from it, so they don't go in and start again. And actually, things like that, they ask people. We need
Sorry,
to.
maybe I need to add something right now, my Nicolo. The first time I started working with Chris was back in almost 20 years ago, 2002. I just happened to do the first Kingdom Bowl in Teufaiva, and Chris was really fresh off the NFL, and he had a chance to work with that group because he was coaching the USA team, in Tonga, in Teufaiva. And I think Chris can talk about, so he had a great chance to talk to some of these seniors in high school, top Tongan players. And if I tell you the class, it's going to blow your mind because he was coaching Haloti Ngata, Will Tukuafu. They're all on the same team in Tonga, Teufaiva,
Wow.
And then those D-line guys was on Chris's D-line, and I saw how he talked to those young, like your question, by Nicolo, is, to Tim and Chris and a lot of the guys, giving back and talking to some of these boys who just about to get off high school, going into college, how important that. And back in 2002, I think Chris may say something about it. He had the opportunity to, because you mentioned Will Tukuafu. Well, he was on that team coached by Chris at Teufaiva. So I'll give it to Chris because he had a time with these young, all Tongan boys from the US. I had the Hawaii boys, but they had the USA boys, to talk to these Tongan boys about where to go from there. And that's the pro. From then on, I worked with Chris all the way to today with Kingdom Bowl, Tonga Bowl, doing different things, giving back and talking to the boys that you're talking about, Nicolo. When we had the one in Frisco, I shared back in 2014 or so, we had Tim Manoa speak to the group of Tongan senior boys. And me and Chris is going to do that even more. Bill have help out, Twitter, Tim, and that's where all of us going to even do it more and more. We already have 2 Tonga Bowl planned for June this year in California, and trying to put one here in Utah. So we already planned it, and we're going to give out the details soon. But Chris, can you talk about that team? You should see Chris's face, Tim. He's still fresh with football, just got off. And here it is, the team with all the top Tongan boys, almost all the 90% of all the Tongan boys that play. There was a senior back in 2002, But I'll give it to Chris because, his insight on that.
Yeah, thanks, Coach. And I tell you what, I can't say enough great things about Coach Levi and his accomplishments, not only as a coach, but as a father and as a mentor. He's been a great mentor to me. But I just got done playing my last year of professional football in 2001. And a good friend of mine, Kevin Polian, had convinced me to take a trip with him to Tonga. And so I went to Tonga, and my dad had just passed away. We had to do some changing of Fetongi Wito with the land and the home and everything like that. And being Tongan American, we're always proud to be Tongan, but you really don't know what it's like to live in Tonga, So I had a chance to move to Tonga as an adult, and in my first year there, within a year is when Chiwaki showed up with 2 entire football teams, and it was amazing. I was like, it's such a great concept here. And I'll never forget the motto of that year was "Back to the Roots." and all I could think about was like, man, these kids are so lucky that they come to Tonga and get a chance to share this sport with our people in Tonga. And Chiwaki opened up an opportunity. I was in Tonga at that time with my friend Kevin, and Kevin's one of my best friends from college, from University of Kansas, and his uncle was the GM for the Buffalo Bills when they went to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row, and then also with Peyton Manning when he won the Super Bowl and with Carolina. But he and I coached Haloti Ngata and Will Tukuafu. My team, arguably my team was the more talented, but Chiwaki had his team from Hawaii, and he ran a play action pass on us for a touchdown on the very first play. I'll never forget that. And I said, man, this dude over here just ran the first play of the game, play action pass for a touchdown, like a 78-yard touchdown, something like that. And but the long story short is, yes, we did get a chance to work with a lot of those young folks, and that was actually part of the inspiration for me. You know, I have a love for this game. I'm so proud to be Tongan, but seeing his work in Tonga allowed me to partner with Chiwaki on so many different ways, just to reach out to our youth. But that experience was not only transformational in my thought process of how we can share this gift of American football with our people, so that we can open up doors and create opportunities at different levels. You know, now we have Tongans who are head coaches, you know, in like Kalani Sitake at BYU. We have Louis Powell and David Lose at Oregon State. We have so many guys now who are in the business. But yeah, you know, working with the young folks is something I'm very passionate about, as is Coach Levi, obviously. And that Kingdom Bowl was kind of like the kickoff, not only of my relationship with Coach Levi, but also with the work that we're doing with a lot of the youth, not just in Hawaii, but here in California and Utah and other places.
You know, Chris, you know, that's the thing that I love about this program that we've started, is you guys are able to come and tell, you know, the truth of what really happens in the NFL, you know? Because, you know, I grew up coaching 14 years of my life, you know, with the kids, and then went on to the high school level. But I think most of our Tongan parents makes that mistake when they bring their kids and they have a few good games. Man, this is an NFL product right here. And their mind is caught up on that, and they insert it into their kids' minds. So they grow up like that. And I think that's the reason why, you know, Vanicolo here mentioned Will Tukuafu. This guy, Chris, I mean, he really put down the ugliness of the NFL. You know what I mean? Calling him to come to San Francisco. Him and his wife was at the airport in Portland to fly over, and they call him, hey, sorry, man, we made a mistake. We got somebody else that's coming in, that's already here. You know, these are the things that our parents has to realize, you know. I mean, I love the NFL. That's my favorite sport to watch. But, you know, for some reason right now, man, if I had a kid that was growing up again, I'd have him playing golf, you know.
Oh, man, it's a cutthroat business.
Yes.
It's definitely a cutthroat business.
And so much in our people. But, you know, it's like you said, there's cutthroats. And that's the name of the game in the NFL, you know. There's thousands and thousands of people, players from every university that comes every year to come out for the draft. And you all know, Tim has mentioned it, you have mentioned it, everyone else that comes on from the NFL has mentioned it, you know. They're there to take somebody else's job, take food off, you know, their families. So they're going to cut you down, whether, you know, like the incident that happened with you in Strahan, you know. Those are the type of things that goes on in the NFL. And I think our parents here in the U.S. really needs to dig down and think about it. You know,
Yeah.
they're pushing their
Well, I
kids
mean,
into ugliness. Is
if you
about.
look at the NFL, you know, you hear it a lot, but the NFL really does stand for not for long,
Yes.
you know. And look, if somebody's talented and they have an opportunity to go to the highest level, I encourage that.
Yes.
You know, I encourage that, and I think they should maximize that.
Right.
But to just to have an entire family or you know, parents or whoever be dependent on that one person, it's really not fair for the kid or really the entire situation. I was fortunate that when I got drafted to the NFL, my dad's number one thing that he was happy about is that his grocery bill got cut in half, you know. And so for me, my dad came to one high school game, he came to one college game, and he came to one NFL game.
Wow.
And it wasn't football. I mean, he didn't even watch football, you know. If he did, his favorite player was John Riggins. That's all he cared about. You know, it was John Riggins and the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
You know, and for my dad, it was more important to be, you know, a good son, you know, one day be a good father and a good husband. And that's what, you know, for him, he just wanted me to figure out a way to feed myself once it was my turn. And then also to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the work that Siwaki and I do a lot of. We spend a lot of work with especially the middle school kids, 13, 14, 15-year-olds, then the high school kids. Those are the age groups I feel like that we can reach the most information and share the most principles. But you're right, Bill. It all starts at home.
Yeah.
And, you know, most of our families, you know, they're coming from the right place. But at the end of the day, the struggle is real. And when your parents are struggling just to pay the bills, and then you got a kid that's, you know, that all of a sudden Nick Saban shows up at your house, or, you know, or some famous coach shows up at your house and they're offering a $250,000 scholarship. You know, it's not money in your hands, but, you know, there's definitely a seed planted to where they say, oh, maybe this kid's going to get to the NFL.
Right.
The one thing I do want parents and Tongans to know is that for the NFL level, the NFL is very spoiled with regards to the numbers. You mentioned it. There's only about 1,700 guys in the NFL every year. And about a third of those guys, about 565 roughly of those guys are going to finish playing that year and never play again.
Never play again.
You know, so it's that 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle, where 20% of the guys make 80% of the money. You know, and just getting to the NFL, the minimum contract right now is about 500,000 for a rookie undrafted free agent, 500,000.
Right.
You know, if you look at the numbers, you know, 500,000 as a W-2 employee sounds like a lot, but if you live in California, you can go ahead and cut that in half. That's 250,000 right there. You know, and then at 250,000, let's just say, you know, you're gonna get a little apartment or something, 2,000 a month. That's 24 grand gone right there. You still got to eat. You know, oh, by the way, you got to buy mom a car. You know, oh, by the way, you got to put a down payment on the house. You know, by the time you're finished, it's very common for a lot of rookies to start off their second year as a broke NFL athlete. You know, unless they have the right principles and the right guidelines to be able to handle that money, because it's really not a lot of money. $1 million nowadays is not a lot of money. You know, $1 million nowadays, you can have some fun with $1 million, but you can't live off $1 million for the rest of your life, unless you move back to Ewa and just go surfing and go fishing, buy a boat. You know,
just leave off the land.
Yeah, if I was gonna go back to live in Ovaka or Taonga or one of the small outer islands, you know, Muka or something, $1 million will last me a lifetime. Until I take that first trip to downtown LA to go shopping, and then there goes 20,000 right there.
You know, we
But,
mentioned that in some of our interviews before, that the average lifespan of a football player is 3 years. And
well,
like you
the
said,
shortest career is running backs.
yes,
Running backs have the shortest career, 2.5 years. Right after running backs is defensive linemen, 3 years.
yeah. So like you said, you know, it's 3 years. I mean, the first year you're spending your money from, you know, your family wants this, you want that. By the time you get out, and 2 years later, you're broke. Okay.
Yeah,
Unless
and look,
the Dallas Cowboys, with their whole line, they'll give you a 7 to 10 year career.
you know, I for the last 11 years, I worked for a company called Exos, and Chiwaki's come to visit me in some of my sessions. Lewis Powell from Utah has come to visit me. And at Exos, I work with a lot of the NFL agents. They send their players to me, and I prepare them for the draft. I just got done with my class. I had 4 guys. I had a JJ Jalen Smith. Is it Jalen Smith? Sorry, a kid from University of Miami, JJ. We had a Samoan kid from University of Oregon. We had a kid from UCLA, Nigerian kid, Osa. In Austin, we had Austin Fauliu from Oregon. We had Osa from UCLA, and then we had Levi Ozareke, another Nigerian kid from University of Washington. And a lot of the time that I spend with them is getting them to understand how to say the word no. It's the hardest word in the English language, is to say no.
No.
And that's a drill that I go through. And I go through all the expenses, you know. Their number one bill that they're going to have as a player is taxes. Taxes are going, you know, they're going to hit you upside the head day one. You know, they don't even ask permission; they just take it. And your second another expense is your agent. You got to pay your agent 3%, right? And if you have a financial advisor, you got to pay him. If you have a manager, you got to pay him. If you have another person who's your personal trainer, nutritionist, that's another 10, 20 grand. You know, you buy a couple cars, and you know, so we go through those drills, and the biggest thing I try to help them to learn is to learn how to say no. You know, that's a hard word to say when you're 22, 21.
Yeah.
And, you know, we joke about it all the time. The more money you make, the more friends and relatives you have.
Right.
Lolo nato.
So, you know, and for us Tongans, we don't have to worry about that because our families are huge. So every funeral and birthday party and wedding, you know, we sing all our family. But to the average person, man, it's a rough deal. And it's really rough on us too. You know, we have
So Chris,
usually when you're the top dog in your family, income wise, whenever there's an emergency, call Tim, or call Chris, or call Will.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. So Chris, let me ask you a question about the kids in college right now. You know, I know this past year was the pandemic was, you know, really it did a damage to their career. But in terms of getting ready to play in college, you know, a lot of these kids actually stays in the summertime, summer schools to work out and maybe take classes. So now, would you suggest to going to somebody that an off-season training beside being in college? Would you recommend to them to going to get the extra training from somebody else that like yourself, you know, train these kids in different techniques and different, you know, speed and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the college level, it's a $1 billion industry. You know, there's more money in college football than there is in the NFL. A lot of people don't realize that. You know, when you're adding up TV contracts and pay-per-view now. And then also, if you look at coaches' salaries now,
Yeah.
you got guys like Nick Saban making $7-8 million a year. Most coaches are multimillionaires. So it's an industry in of itself. Each university is a corporation. Each university, they always say, oh, you get a free scholarship. I would debate that the scholarship is not free, because if you got to be somewhere for 100 hours a week, you earn every cent of that scholarship.
Right.
And think about it. If you got the University of Utah and you got 30,000 students, what's 25 scholarships to them if they got 30,000 full paying customers? Nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. And so with regards to training, they should maximize all the training they can get from that corporation, from the school, because they're going to eat up your time. Look, anybody out there that's here in the States or abroad that wants to play college football, there's a schedule that they're going to have to get used to. You got to get up at about 5 a.m. You got to go train at about 6. And then you got to go to breakfast. And then from 8 until 2 o'clock, you're in school, you're in class. You got to maintain a certain GPA. They check. They have actual people that they pay to check you in class to make sure you're in class. Then you got to go lift. And then you got to go to meetings. And after meetings, about 3:30, you hit the field. You got to tape your ankles, do all you got to do, hit the field, do your practice. And after practice, guess what? We got another meeting. And then after the meeting, you have dinner. And after dinner, you have study hall. And so when they say they're giving a free scholarship, it's far from being free. When our kids go out there to a school, the number one thing that they want from our kids is they want them to perform on the field. It's a business.
It's a business.
And the more you perform, the better you perform, the more they love you.
That's it. I mean, like you said,
The saying that you got to compromise and then improvise, and then you incentivize to the way you're going to benefit, from whoever. Like Tim is saying, it goes back to Coach Levi here, where he has put in a lot of camps here in Utah, helping the kids, and I think these kids will come around to realizing that they do need you guys, instead of, they get this little fame here in high school and then they think that they can make it all. There's a kid that Siwaki brought here to East High School. He's in USC right now, but just watch the kid play.
Bill, sorry, I just want to make a correction. I know you met the kid at East High School when we were there with Chris, the two. But the kid that in USC, because I remember I watched the show that you mentioned, he came to Chris. He attended a small high school in California and made his way to USC. But when I introduced him to Bill, it was at East High School when we came there. I think maybe Bill got mixed up that he attended Chris at East High School. But and Chris and I picked that kid and Bill. But that's Stanley Taufo at USC right now. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Chris. I'm not trying to take any credit here from anybody, but that's one of the things that Chris and I were talking about that we are going to do on the show is talk about his career in the NFL and in college, and then end up with the things that he's doing, in connection to you, Coach, the way we're moving on with this, so we can help the kids. Like I said, the kid in USC, man, he was the most humble kid that I saw, playing. And I mean, when it was time to run. He'd be the first one around the track, and there's people saying over there, hey, man, where's this kid from? You loving it, IB? And I said, man, this kid wants it, Yeah. But Chris, I would like to move our conversation on to what you're doing now with the kids in connection to Levi, or if not, what is it that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I'm glad you brought that up. I do a lot of different things business wise, but there's nothing that brings me more joy, and there's nothing I'm more passionate about than to take a kid who's hungry, who's humble, who's willing to work, who's willing to study in class, who's willing to take coaching and willing to take advice, to see that person mature into a great student athlete, such as Stanley Taufa'o that was at Atele. And this is the second time we've done it a number of times, but what I was getting at is the first kid that we brought over was Stephen Paya from Vava'u High School.
Right.
And Stephen Paya was getting ready to go on a rugby. The way they recruit in the U.S. is a little different. In the U.S., we recruit high school juniors and seniors for university. In the rugby world, they recruit middle school, 14, 15-year-olds to go to academy at Kentigern or Wellesley or something in New Zealand or even Australia or even Japan or France.
Japan, yeah.
And so Stephen Paya was getting ready. I think he was going to Wellesley. What school did Jonah Lumu go to?
Yeah.
Wesley, something like that. Yeah. And so we sat down and talked with Stephen's parents. We have a connection in Vava'u. They're from the same village that my grandmother's from in Talau, Vava'u, and they actually had a guest house that I took my strength coach from Kansas. He and I went to visit, and we went to watch the rugby, and I wasn't even looking like that as far as bringing kids over, but my coach looked at me and he says, "Hey, that kid right there can start at Kansas right now." And when I looked over, it was Stephen. Stephen's about 14 at the time, and he was not real tall, about 250 pounds, but he could run. And seeing Stephen come here, break the bench press record, and I didn't even realize Stephen was going to the NFL till Siwaki said, "Hey, Stephen's going to be a Sunday guy." I was like, "Really?" Because I didn't do it for recognition like Siwaki. We just want to see our kids do well. We just want to position our youth, educate our youth and their parents so they can maximize this opportunity with these God-given talents that God gifted our people. And we have such a high ratio of success in athletics that it just brings us joy when we're able to take a Stephen Paya, take him all the way to the NFL. But the NFL was never the goal. The goal was go get your education. And if you happen to be good enough and driven enough and motivated enough and work hard enough and not have too many injuries, then God bless you. Go out and make some money, and then you can have at least some good startup capital when you get done from the NFL and go start your life. So through PASE, PASE is the Polynesian American Sports and Education Foundation that we set up with Siwaki in Hawaii, where we're able to help folks who want to go to a camp or go to our Kingdom Bowl. And oftentimes they're free. I mean, me and Siwaki and I used to joke. It was like, man, we got all these folks charging money for the camps, and we end up having to pull, a lot of the kids paid, but a good majority of them did not pay. So we had to come out of our pocket and figure out how to cover these expenses.
The expenses.
Even like the Kingdom Bowl. I mean, think about that. Siwaki had to figure out a way to get 60 kids from the States, from all different states, to Tonga. And plane tickets to Tonga are, at least the cheapest ticket is $2,000 from LA, at least, maybe more, $2,000 round trip.
Yeah.
So nowadays, Bill, it brings me great joy we do a lot of placement where we're looking for partnerships. We have a lot of partnerships on the prep level, on the high school level, where I organized another company and a brand out here called the American Football Institute. You can find me on Instagram, called American Football Institute, where it's based on educating people. If they want to play football, these are the steps you got to take. Okay. Nice. And I'm very proud of that, because at the end of the day, it's a short window when you play football. Everybody is going to have to hang those cleats up at some time, at some point. But if we're able to grab one of our brothers and one of our nephews and one of our sons and teach them a better route to not only just think of the football side, Also think of the connections and the networks you can make with different corporations because you're an NFL athlete. You know,
Chris, if I may ask, the things that you're doing that you were mentioning, is it for just the Tongan kids, or are you doing it for everyone? Or
well, the Polynesian American Sports and Education is obviously our primary target population is for Polynesians, Tongans,
Right.
Samoans. And when I say Polynesians, we're talking, you know,
I got it.
Melanesians, Micronesians as well. But that's the primary. But there's a rule that Siwaki and I always go by is we work with the willing. You know,
Right.
we're not in the convincing business. If I got to convince you to go lift weights, if I got to convince you to go to school, if I got to convince you to go to
Yeah.
practice, then you're the wrong kid.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you should go either play a different sport because football is just too hard. You know, this sport is not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's only for those guys who enjoy the collisions, who enjoy the physicality of this sport, and who enjoy the camaraderie of this sport. But Siwaki, I don't know any Tongan in the world who's been able to send more kids on full scholarships out of high school than Siwaki Levi. And all I've done in LA side is just try to copy him. You know, I call him for advice and say, hey man, what do you think about this? What do you know, we're just bouncing ideas, and
I
he's been a
think
great
that's what
mentor
it
to me.
should be. I think that's what it should be. You know, helping each other out, bouncing ideas off each other, like you guys have been doing, and you guys have helped a lot of kids move on to the next level and you know to go to school. So, like even we talked earlier with Siwaki, you know, it's about helping each other out with this type of you know, with the athletes. That what you guys are doing, it's phenomenal. What you guys been able to do and continue to do with what you guys are doing, and we applaud you guys for doing it. And you know, we're here to, you know, help out in any way we can on anything that we can do to help out. But you guys are doing a great job, and this is what it's all about. It's for us to get this message out to people that there is people like you guys are helping some of our kids, especially here, you know, here in America and outside of here in Tonga and wherever they may be. But you guys are putting a great examples of giving yourself and helping others beside, you know, taking care of your family. Because now it's, you guys have a bigger family, you know, helping some of these kids.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
exciting, Tim. I tell you what, man, you know, having this program is awesome to just let people know that with PASE is a nonprofit. And so, you know, one of the ways that people can help is they can donate to PASE.
Right.
You know, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about money, and, you know,
But that's
at the
what
end of
makes
the
things
day,
go.
we provide a lot of free services, but in order to keep the machine rolling,
Right.
you know, there's expenses. You know,
Yes.
there's expenses involved in putting on these camps and things like that. So Siwaki will share with us the link for PASE. For the American Football Institute, that's not a non-profit. That is a for-profit entity
Okay.
that I created, and that's more of an educational product that I'm developing. I got a website, AmericanFootballInstitute.com, that we're still developing, where you know, for the kids who can afford to learn more, that we also provide information on that as well.
Sure.
Also, next month I'll be launching a YouTube channel with American Football Institute. That's going to be more a inspirational and motivational type of information related to football.
Sure.
You know, Siwaki's, you know, we're talking about inspiration and motivation. I can just have Siwaki on the show every time, and he'll motivate the whole
Motivates.
country.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
Guys, I just want to add this. Thank you so much. Bill had said something so unique earlier that I think I'm going to add on that point. I just want the audience to know, especially our Tongan parents, we're not here to promote football only. We're really for Game of Life. Chris and I has found a slogan that we use is called Changing Lives. that we use when we recruit kids from Tonga, New Zealand, Australia, to come abroad, and changing lives is the ultimate goal. Like Bill mentioned earlier when he mentioned, we only use football because that's how we get the attention of people to come our way. And as Tim Manoa noticed when he entered Sniff Lane in San Francisco, and we seated like almost 100 Tongan boys, and these are all over from the whole United States, and the unique thing that give us joy, and Chris can witness to this, is when we can able to bring the talent of all the Tongan boys, and put it in one room,
Right.
and then try to work with them. I mean, in 2002, we put the top Tongan football players from USA along with the top Tongans in Tonga when we went to Toloa. Can you imagine that little weight room, sitting there shoulder to shoulder as we try to speak to them? These guys went on from Toloa to the rugby world, and these Halotingata and Will to go off with them go into the NFL world, Fui Vagapuna and those. But the idea is that's what parents, the Tongan parents, jump for. And that Bill. It's not like, because right now when it's football, o pehepe kau Tongaia kono ki foha a millionaire, a NFL. Even though there's less than 1% makes it, o si te i pehe toko taha koto e ki tamasi i koe kawenga koto peo kau ki akapu, tola te au ni manoa su whaingo fuai. Tola taha nima ki he ako, kai ke aia. Alu koe ke football meeting i tu o tolu he wike, kai ke tō mo tamaia tau tu sea mo aia. Au ke tau. Ila hau koe ai whakataha koe ki he ako, ke mea mauai scholarship, mo mea ke point whakako, kai ke hau hataha ia. Ka koe poini koe tau heni ai, neo mo kumau ka veinga aki ai footballo. Te a tāpulu, nari whakata lawe koe a bio, koe baseballo. Na maustano mo Christine. Oho wharepe mo tō, tō elere mo ma baseballo. Sile mea mau atau tolu. Taiminia is all of us. We're gonna put our head together because Chris and I can't do it alone. We need people get out. Kaike kakoku poini. Ko uhinga pe footballo ia ke fai talanoa. That's the vehicle that they come to. Ka ko talanoa is a game of life. It's changing lives. Ke tau tokoni ta ke he ko footballo o une teke ai ako. Pe koe ako e mai ata mai ke ilo na hinga au ke he koe ke it's I hate to say this, but the best disciplinary tools in the USA is sports. Ko hana uhinga. He ku ofane pe ku respect yang he fana uia taimini ai sipoti mo kau coachi tapu be mo motol e matu ani because we have a lot of absent parents. Ko foi me ai ta ka taimi ko mau ai ko o check in e hotel e team mo Chris ko mo alai kala nivalu man all the guys go mau Felipe Tuivai all these guys go how o mau one on one mau tol mo fa now throughout the week. You practice, you lunch, you dinner, we take a ride. And that's when we get the one-to-one incentive go I find now. Every time when we set them up, get the for a speech. Matuk was defensive ben out all the cards is up. Oh, I But when we go to eat lunch, more breakfast, more dinner, more practice, ki more vete to coach. Mahalo ka pau toko tahani my coach timi ko. Then we have one-on-one. They talk with their coach. Or they so Christian Alai and all of the guys that come in to coach, we have time with these kids. How can we connect with youth ke contribute mai ngai mea na tau wako. We made all the trials and error and mistake tau learn from there. Ko hauene kakai, they been there. Tim Manoa been there in a different time zone, a timeline with Chris Mamalanga. Ko hu mai ko haloti ngata, that's a different line. You know, ko kautama ko taimini, there's, you know, there's a different group because things change, you know. Kako poini, when we, and I'm glad you guys here because we are all going to be in this together. Bill joined us here in the last one we did at East High School. Kakapau te tau katoa mai, hange koe tonga Paul koe ni palani ki me pe ko sune, you know, in California. Once we get the detailed time and everything, we'll let the people out there. We all come out there. Go Chris unga mo kautama ko ya, you know, offer.
Yeah.
You know, ungam, you know, their kids, or you know, your nephew Tim, you know what it is. If we all come together as Tongans or create a mea ki tau youth, ko mea ia ko tau whenga ki ai. That's the ultimate goal, and I'm sure. Ka koe poini koe whaosi koe, and I uhinga ki a pio, mātua o kumau he ni tala noa football, ka koe koe mau mai matou ke tāna ki mau mo tamai ki o shove ki he football. No, it's just the way to connect their game of life, because they are ko land of opportunity ko ni fairly a mea ke ma o mai mo ui mo ya o peki ngā. But I think that's the point about Vaini Kolo, you know, yes, the ultimate goal e tau pio te ngai polokalama, pe i he polokalama ko ni te tau whemahino aki ai mo kakai. Kai toki o atu e tau ngahi, me a katoa ke tau ngāue ki ai ke toko ni e tau whānau. Malo, sorry for forget.
Just on that,
No.
Coach, there's always going to be a mistake along the line here, but it's better to avoid it before you get there. A little warning would do, huh? It's just the importance of reaching out and help those people, the rookies and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that there's people like us and Chris and Vanicolo and Shiwaki, all of us here has done it before. There's so many of us athletes now. The first generation that ever came out here has, you know, have been to playing professionally and in life now, but you know, like you guys have done. And there's a whole bunch of us that can actually give back to some of these kids. And these kids are lucky because there's a whole lot of us here that wants to help them out in some way, somehow, to get them to whatever. If they want to play sports, get a scholarship to go to college. I mean, we don't have the money to put some of our kids into college to have a scholarship, but if there's a way we can help them to get that scholarship, why not?
Yeah, Tim, and I tell you, here's a question I always ask the kids when it comes to football, because I don't really push NFL on anyone. You know, NFL, if it comes, that's a result of a lot of work, a lot of effort, and a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
But I always ask them, I said, hey, who's the highest paid person in the NFL? Does anybody in this panel know? Who's the highest paid person in the NFL?
Mahomes, what is it, Mahomes?
Mahomes?
Yeah, some people would say Mahomes. Some people would say Tom Brady. But it's not even, the person I'm talking about has never even made a tackle. Has never even caught a pass or a touchdown. And his name is Roger Goodell. He makes about $50 million plus a year.
What?
And that's why it's important. That's why it's important for us to push the academics and education. Because look, if you're not going to be a guy who's going to run touchdowns, maybe you're the guy who's going to negotiate the contract.
Right.
You know, those
Right.
guys do pretty well. They're making multi-seven figures being just sports agents or managers or financial advisors. You know, you can be the guy who's having surgery on the guy's knees as a former player. You think that's valuable to be a former athlete, to understand what the kids need as far as treatment for their knees or for their back or whatever injuries.
Yep.
There's so many levels. You can be the guy on TV talking about sports. Sports can be a catalyst to so many different avenues, and not just
Right.
football. Football just happens to be what we love. you know.
Yeah.
But like you said, Bill, it could be golf. But at the end of the day, they can use football as a vehicle just to get you from point A to point B.
Point B.
But just like any vehicle, you only have so many miles, then you got to trade that vehicle in, and now you got to get a job, or you got to start a business,
Yeah.
or you know, football. Look, a long time in the NFL is 5 to 10 years. You know, somebody goes into the league at 22, at 32, they still got 40 years of life, 50 years of life left.
Yep.
You know, so that's why
Okay.
I'm so passionate about creating opportunities for these kids. We have kids from Melbourne, Australia, with some of our partners there, Dave Duinalvai over in Melbourne. And that's important for us to understand, that we have partnerships in different areas. In New Zealand, I had the honor through George Malaulu and the Ainga Foundation to do some work with the Metro Lions in Auckland, with Martin Stowers and Sam Pelisi, and over in near Auckland. In every city that we're settled in, you go to Euless, Texas, and there's Moses Vakalahi's there. You know, you go to Sacramento, you got Toke Kefu and Bove Mao and James Pate in Sacramento.
Okay.
You know, you go to Hawaii, Shiwaki obviously there, but we have people in every area of the country. In LA, we have some kids coming up coaching and doing some great things. In the Bay Area, same thing. You know, so it's really fun to see these kids and to mentor them and to point them in the right direction, and for them to maximize their goals, and for us to be able to be a small piece to help them change their lives for the better.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we've been on here for about an hour and a half, so the conversation is awesome. You guys, you know, I'm hoping that our audience has got something out of our conversation, and hopefully that we can, you know, do the things that we've been talking about on here. I know Christian and Shiwaki has done a great job with some of our kids, and we need to, you know, to help them out, to support them. So we're all here to support, guys, and we greatly appreciate you, Chris, coming on tonight, all the panels. Bill, I'll give it up to you to close it out for us.
Just before Bill, let me jump in, please, real quick.
Yeah.
Chris, let people know how they can get a hold of you on social media or whatever, or platform.
Oh yeah. So you can go on my IG page. I have a personal one, Chris Malanga, but I also have the AFI page, which is American Football Institute. You can reach me on that DM, or you can email me at my last name, which is Malanga, MAUMALANGA @gmail.com. And you know, anybody out there who's looking for an opportunity, you know, the age groups that we typically work with, we coach our 14, 15-year-olds. We just started working with some kids out of Fiji. One of our brothers out there, actually he's from California, Takapu. He's out there, and you know, those are different ways you can contact us. I know Shiwaki, he has his email as well. You can share that with him, Coach, please.
Yeah, you guys just send it to me, then I'll post it on our page. So you know, all that information. Do you have, Chris? Just inbox it to me, Coach. Inbox it to me, then we'll post it on our page, so people will have it there. I'm sure that, you know, most of them won't have time to write it down, but we'll take all that information and we'll post it on the page, so everybody.
Sounds
can see.
good.
But before we close it out, let's go ahead and hear from Shiwaki, and then we'll send it to you, Chris, and then I'll go ahead and finish out. Giancarlo, do you have anything else? Okay. Go ahead, Coach.
I just want to take this time to thank all of you guys. Carlo, always from the backstage. Thank you, Carlo, for supporting Tim and Bill with this great program, you know, that give us the opportunity to share, you know, not only the great history of our people, but things that that is going on right now that can help our youth of today. And thank you, Wai Nicolo. You being always being here is it's a support, and everyone that do join in. I wish that Vika showed up and shared some of her thoughts. I know they came on and off, but the more of us that share our idea, I'm sure we all have the same goal of helping out somehow. And everybody gets so much to give. It's not just the people who made it out there, like the NFL players, and everybody have something to contribute. Even and they're all equal to building this thing for our people. So thank you so much, guys, and Chris Malanga for the program tonight. There's so much more about this man, that we haven't even touched, and I'm sure every program, Tim and Bill knows that there's only a little that we touched on their life. It's only a little surface, and just almost like an introduction to some of the things they do in their life. But there's more to come. We'll continue to work together to put this project and these functions together where we all can meet up. When hopefully when this pandemic is over, we'll do more and more of all the things that we already been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
And just like the gathering, but people like Fata Vailea and those people that come on and send us messages. Thank you very much. And guys, Hanno Sekona is, he's apologizing that he can't be here. He really wanted to be here, because guys like that who give up, even Felipe Tuivai from Seattle, and Ofa and Chris Unga, there's so many, if we ever come together, just a few of us to do these functions, I'm telling you, when our kids see us doing that, it's unique. But Chris Malanga and what he does, like I said, what you guys heard today about this great man is only a little scratch of who he is and what he's doing and what he continue to do. Sometimes I meet with Chris all day, all night, and we talk a lot. We visit each other. We spend a lot. The little coins that we have, and he knows, we put it all. We put it to the things that we do, the project that we do, and we laugh at times. I said, if only we had a little bit to work with, we maximize every little thing that we have. But we're grateful for our wives who understand and support it. Without them, I think we'll be, done a long time ago, because it's the time that and every one of you, Bill, Nicolo, Tim, there's great people behind you, your spouses, your kids, your family. And thank you so much, guys. I'm always honored to be part of anything that help build our youth in any ways. So thank you for the time. Thank you for everything. Malo apito.
Well, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Chris?
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Coach Levi. Coach Levi has been such a great mentor for me over the years, and
Chris, before
really
you
enjoy.
Can I ask you one more thing?
Sure.
Is there a particular player that is about to burst into the college scene that you're working with right now? You mean like out of high school? Yes, out of high school.
Oh man, there's a few. There's definitely a few. We have a kid right now that has just signed with SC, Jay Toia. His father is my first cousin, so I got a chance to work with him closely. Siwaki's very familiar with him. Wow. Look out for that kid. His older brother actually played at East High School. Apuika is actually his biological brother.
Wow.
But Jay Toia at SC, then of course you got Stanley at SC. I'm excited about Simi Moala over at Utah, the left tackle. He played in the Kingdom Bowl as well, but he's a kid that we worked with early on here in LA as far as getting him to the right schools, and I'm very close with their family, the Vanisi and Moala family. But we have a lot of boys coming up. Matter of fact, one of my mentors that inspired me to play football, his son is a national recruit right now out of Bishop Alemany High School in Mission Hills, California, named Niuafe Tuihalamaka. He's coming up. He's class of 2022. We have a lot of young players, not just here. We have Losini Maka this year from Kahuku. He just came to California to play because they're not playing in Hawaii. We have so many young players coming up. I hate to name names because I know I'm always going to forget guys. But the one thing that we do have in our community is we have a lot of talent, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to guide them properly and advise them properly so that they can maximize their opportunities. And then one day, when all of us are gone, they're going to be the ones carrying the torch, and to be able to reach down and pull our brothers up so that we can continue this. And those are the kids, Bill, that I can think of off the top of my head.
I just want to add on that question, Bill. Bill, the kid that Tuihalamaka kid, class of 22, he's already number 1 on most of the major colleges in the whole United States right now. But talking about Apu's brother, Bill, Jay is dominating everything, at ESC. But his other brother, Chris, that was an interesting story. Soane, Chris. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Soane is also
from Toloa.
We brought him from Toloa. When I went to pick him up, Bill, he matatolu ia heki grade taha Toloa. He was like 7th, 8th grade. He's on a full ride scholarship at San Jose right now, Bill. Playing as a freshman, a true freshman. Moiki damasi be taha me vava'u, me mairefihi. He's a freshman. Full ride scholarship at Oregon State. Lolohea. So those are the kids straight out from Tonga, from fresh off the boat, enjoying, the world. But that's another dimension. If me and Chris start picking names, we're gonna forget a lot, And but it's unique, that I kangi kaureka kwen, But anyway, sorry to patch in, Bill. Forget kakoe.
No problem. Chris, any last remarks before I close it out?
I'm just thankful, and I appreciate all of you, Tim, Bill, Wayne Colo. Of course, like I mentioned earlier, my mentor and friend, Coach Iwaki Levi, Galo from New Zealand. I just found out you're in New Zealand all this time. I thought you were in the Bay Area filming. That just tells you that I haven't been tapping in as much as I probably should. But look, I'm very thankful that we're able to share this information. We have such a passion for helping our youth. That's our most valuable asset in our community is uplifting our youth. And for any families and parents out there who maybe just need a conversation or maybe just need to send their kids to a camp or anything, get a hold of Coach Levi and get a hold of the guys on this panel and reach out to us. And it's not about recognition for me. I could care less if Stephen Paya ever says my name, or some of the other kids that we work with. It's not about us. It's more about uplifting our community. And yes, we started off with Tongan boys, but we help a lot of Samoan boys. We're now helping with some Fijian boys. We only started with the Tongan group because that's the only thing that we could afford. We couldn't reach out to the larger audience. We start off with our friends and family and relatives. And I encourage anyone out there to understand that each one of our kids, they have greatness in them. It's us as adults, as parents, that we have to figure out the best route. And if it's sports or football, hey, we're here. And if it's something else, then you got to figure out the path for them there. But one of the things that I'm so proud of is that we see a lot of times with the kids, we see greatness in them before they see it in themselves.
Right.
And for us, we're just trying to position them in a way so that they can understand that God gifted them with something, and it's their responsibility to use that talent, maximize that talent, so they can not only help themselves, help their family, and of course, help our community and anyone else who they can reach out to. So thank you guys for having me on, and
Awesome.
I look forward to seeing you guys in person once this corona stuff settles down.
Right.
Yes. Well, Chris, it's been an honor, man, you know, to sit with you and listen to your story. I'm glad I got firsthand your side of the version of what took place in New York, huh? But, you know, all that we love you and appreciate, man, you know, the things that you speak of with Coach Levi here, you know, it's unheard of, you know, for people like yourselves to give, you know, to just take yourself and fly yourself to Tonga, you know, to recognize some of our kids. You know, that's what it's all about. Eh? And man, if there's anything that we, as our panel here, can do, Tim and Fetu'u and Hano and also Caroline, eh? Let us know, Siwaki. Eh? Let us know what we can do to help. Man, because, you know, when Siwaki came to me, I started calling high schools, you know. Out of nowhere, somebody offered helmets and shoulder pads from Minnesota, and all of a sudden, Siwaki calls me, hey, I have some uniforms here and there, you know, can you bring them down, you know? Little things that we can do, you know, let us know, because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the type to go and help out coaching and stuff. You guys can handle that side of the things, you know, but let us know, please. And, you know, Chris, the things that you're doing, the kids that you mentioned at the end of this segment, man, I hope you guys are listening. And for those of you parents that haven't even thought of letting these guys know of your kids, I hope this bowl game in June, whatever, I hope Salt Lake's going to have a team, Siwaki, because I want to be involved in that.
All right.
You know, I have a nephew, you know, well, he's my grandson to me. He's my sister's grandson, George Miley, out of Bingham High School, you know. I'm hoping to influence him to go to USC, but I don't know, man. He's looking at Oregon pretty bad. So, but anyway, you know, let us know, you know, those games so we can get involved.
Bill,
Yes.
sorry, Bill. I remember that So just if anybody can hear us, about next month, Chris and I are planning to send a container of football equipment to Tonga. As you know, we started 4 teams in 2017-18 competing in Tonga, you know.
Right.
So as soon as we open the border, we're going to send the uniform already, the equipment and stuff. We're trying to hope maybe get more teams involved. Maybe Hihifo boys, Chris, mau ko mo team hake. Ko mo tama Hihifo ko bio anymore. Mo team ke recruit now ko tama Hihifo ke fingai ma team Hihifo.
Don't worry, we'll got him.
But
Hey, Haki is ready, bro. We got Mu'a and La Paja,
yeah,
and Toa and Kolonga. We're ready.
Okay.
Chris, go Felipe to Ivai, and Felipe to Ivai. Hahake is more than ready. But just people out there, we are sending equipment to Tonga. You know, it might be the first week of April. We're gonna send it from LA. So if you can help that way, and then we'll let you know the Tonga Bowl. We select a Tonga team, 2 Tonga teams. The 15 and below, and then the 15 and above, and then we pick the Tonga team to play All-Star LA County area. You know, when we played it 2 years ago in LA, I thought, you know, just a quick thing. Na malo team Tonga, na toki fa ma upe timi atau ko timi ago e kau palangi o si mau e toko ni manoa watch film for the week. O fai practice mo todo e ke mai pe mau wa ti me e kau Tonga toki mau pe tanaki o mau e au tau ta vare he mau timi a timi ki ma timi la la fango fu tupu ki he but man ka ko e ngahi me ape hoko. So look forward for the Tonga Bowl in California.
Okay.
And I know Utah is always a big participant. And Bill, start recruiting. There's the under 15. You know, Bill, you pick those coaching team or whatever, because Cali boys will be ready. So we'll give you more and more as we talk about it in the future. Malo Peter.
Thank you.
Nice.
Anyways, guys, next week, the great giant in Halotingata, he's going to be our next guest, and he's going to be something to hear about. I think he's made the most money out of you Tongan players,
Yep.
Chris and
Yep.
Jim, eh?
Well,
But
he'll be the first Tongan Pro Football Hall of Famer for
Hall
sure.
of Famer. Yep.
Yes,
And,
sure.
Yep.
I don't know if he's made the most amount of money. I just know that maybe he hasn't finished counting it yet.
Yeah, he's still counting it.
Still counting it.
Yeah.
Anyways,
The,
guys,
the highest paid Tongan sports is Steven Adams.
Steven Adams.
Wow.
Oh, basketball. Wow.
Yeah, he's made over 100 million already.
Jeez. Oh, we need to get him on our show too.
well,
knows?
again, golf. My nephew Tony Finau. He's made over 120 million. So within 7-8 years, he's been in the pros.
Oh,
So
wow.
like I said,
Golf is a whole nother level.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another level.
But anyways, Chris, know that we love you and support you in everything you do. Let us know, and we're looking forward to putting a team together and come out to LA and participate in that tournament. But anyways,
Sounds good, man. First thing you do is call your nephew that made the 120 million and tell him to make a donation.
There you go.
I'm working. I am working for him right now. Listen to me.
Chris, that's the kind of guys we need to get a hold of, man.
He and his dad actually started a construction company here, and I moved back to Salt Lake, working for them. So, and
nice.
Phil here, Felipe Tuibay from Seattle. Let me read you what he said before we close out. Great job, guys. And myself and Chris share similar stories. First played football my sophomore year in high school. Share same birthday, oldest daughter named Olivia, laughing out loud.
Yeah,
Chris is
that's
a humble
right.
dude and a smart individual.
That's my
He's
brother
a
right there, man.
model. He's a great role model to our youths and our Tongan community. And also, Ofa and Chris, love you guys and thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you guys next week. God bless all. Thank you.
Take care, guys. Be
Hello,
blessed.
guys. Over.
Over.
Bye-bye.
Okay.